Hey everyone, Tony Winston here for Jazz Piano College. And you know, at the beginning of the real books, they have this, or the new real books that is, they have this way of writing all the chords. And you know, so many charts are written with different chord symbols that are just, you know, you just have to scratch your head and wonder what the person was thinking when they wrote that particular chord symbol. And I'm going to show you some of the things that you have to be on guard for, because there's some really weird ways of writing chords out there, let me tell you. Okay, NC means no chord. C bass, I don't know, I guess that just means play a bass note or something. I really don't get that one. C, when you see just a letter like C or B flat, you think a major chord, but if it's a jazz standard, a lot of times it really means a C6 chord or possibly a C major 7th chord, just the C. Now, you know, if it's in a Beatles song or something, it means C. But if it's in like a Rodgers and Hammerstein song, it might be a C6. Got to try it out. Okay, next chord is C6. That's pretty obvious. And of course, the way they're written in this thing, they're just written kind of from bottom to top, but that's not the way jazz piano players are going to play them. They're going to play a 6 chord like this, or like this, or like this, or like this. I mean, there's 1,000 ways to do it. So this just gives you the notes that are in the chord. How you arrange them is up to you. A C6-9 chord, okay, this is pretty accurate. C6-9, usually played kind of like this. All right, there's your 6, your 9, and move the 5th up here. You know, lots of ways of doing it. With the root on top, with the 3rd on the bottom there, or just like that. Possible way of doing it. C add 9. Yeah, if there's no 7th, you could just say that's an add 9, but nowadays they write that a lot of times as C2. Like this is C2 or C, actually this is C suspended second. C2 means a C chord with the D in there. All right, so you could play it something like this. Like that. That could be considered a C2 chord or a C add 9. Okay, let's see. Next line, C major 7th. Okay, great. And it says MA7. Now you're also going to see C MAJ7. You might also see C with a big M and a 7. I hate that one because I always think C minor 7 when I see that, but a capital M and a 7. And then there's the triangle, you know, C triangle 7. Yeah. That means any kind of a major chord usually. Okay, C major 7, add 13. You could just call that C major 13 if you wanted to. Just C major 13. Or the way they have it written here. You know, a good way of doing it would be like something like that maybe. You could leave out the 5. All right, play it like this. Okay. Now they have a C major 13. I really don't get the difference between that. Well, C major 9. And anytime you see a number bigger than 7, it means the 7 is there. So C major 9 has to have a 7 in it. Otherwise, it's C major add 2 or something like that. Or add 9 in this case. So, C major 13, like that. And you know, you can't add the 11. You can put the 9 in. You can add the sharp 11, but they've probably got a new chord symbol for that down there someplace. Okay, now let's get to the dominant chords. Fun. C7th. All right, of course, I'm going to play it like that more often, or this, or this. Okay, C7. And, you know, in so many jazz charts, a C7 doesn't always mean just a plain C7. It means you can add the flat 9 to it, or some other tension, some other 9th, 11th, or 13th to it. Okay, C9, all right, just means a C7th with a 9. It has to have the 7th in there. Play it like that if you like. C13, you know, once again, it has to have the 7th. And it seems like all these 13 chords, they keep putting the 9 in, so that's cool. All right, and you know, they show it like this, but not a great way to play it. This would be better. Just like Okay, C minor, right? Once again, if it's in a jazz type chart, it might be C minor 7th. C minor 6th, okay? C minor 6/9, kind of like the C major 6/9, C minor 6/9. C minor, add a 9 or add a 2. All right, there it is. If it's just that, it's C suspended 2. And that's C suspended 4. I don't know if they get to those. We'll find out. All right, so C minor, add 9. C minor 7th. C minor 11 is how I would write it, but they write it C minor 7, add 11. And by the time I read all that, the band is on to the next chord. So I'd rather just see C minor 11. There's a better way of playing it. Something like that, maybe. Or the so what chord. It's got the 11th down here. It doesn't matter. The 11 doesn't have to be way up here. It can be, just as a 4th. The thing that makes it an 11 is the fact that there's a 7 already there. Right? There's your C minor 7th chord. And so this note will then be thought of as the 11th. Okay, C minor, add the 13. Let's see, do they put anything else in there? Yeah, they have to have the 7th, so you add the 13. A good way to play it would be something like this. Okay, it might sound a little weird, but that's a nice chord. C minor 9th just means C minor 7th with a 9. That's a good way of doing it. C minor 11th. Oh, they finally got it. So why did they call the other one add 11? Because they did not have the 9. Yeah. The 9 doesn't do that much to the chord. So, I don't know, you can make a distinction there if you want to. I don't. So there's C minor 11 with the 9 in there. Oh, no, I got to put 11 in someplace. I can put it down there. They've just got it like that. And, that's a nice sounding closed voicing. I like it. It's like a B flat over a C minor. C minor 13, C minor with a major 7. Yeah, right. C minor, major 7th. And sometimes they'll have the triangle and then the dash, right? The dash for the minor 7th. Yeah, and that's another thing. All these minor chords, let's go back to that C minor. C dash, same thing. C dash 6, same thing. C minor 6. So, that's really common in the old real books especially, so watch out for that. The dash means minor. Okay. C minor 9th with a major 7th. Oh, I'll tell you, if I see that, I would just leave out the 9. Just write C minor major 7th. And, like I say, the 9 doesn't add that much to it, so, a skilled jazz piano player will know whether or not to add the 9. Okay, you could maybe add the 11 too. C minor 7 flat 5. Okay, there's the chord, and it's called a half-diminished, so a lot of times it's written like this, C, and then the circle with the line through it, because it's diminished, half-diminished. All right, I kind of like this symbol because I can read it really quickly, and if I read C minor 7 flat 5, by the time I've read all that, if it's a fast tune, the band has moved on without me. So C minor 7 flat 5, you can add the 9 sometime, and that's what the next chord is. And once again, probably not necessary to write that chord. Just write, C half diminished, and if the melody note happens to be the 9, it'll take care of itself. If it's not, it doesn't matter if you put it in or not. C minor 7 with the 11. Yeah. C minor 7 flat. C minor 11 flat 5. Yeah, I would hate to see that chord progression. Just give me the C minor 7 flat 5, and I'll decide what to do with it. Put the 9 in. Okay, C diminished. All right. Now, a lot of times you'll see the little circle instead, and when you see the circle, and a lot of times you can play all 4 notes of the diminished chord. And here our next chord, they call it C diminished 7th. And it is written correctly there with the double flatted 7th there. But you can think of it as a 6th, right? Because that's what it is. And what do we got here? Okay, if I ever see a chart with C diminished 7, add the major 7th, no. Like I say, any diminished chord, you can add a note above one of the chord tones. And like I say, a skilled jazz piano player will know when that's appropriate. And many times that's just the melody note, so there's no need to write it in. All right? I would never write that chord. C diminished 7th, add major 7th. Awful. Okay, C plus. This is an augmented chord, but many times it's used in the context of a dominant chord, in which case I think of it as a flat 13, and so do a hell of a lot of other people. So just writing C altered would work, C 7th altered is another way of doing it. But the plus kind of just indicates a pure augmented chord. So I like it for that. When I see C plus 7, I just think an altered chord, and I might add a flat 9 or a sharp 9 to it and do it something like that. So that's C plus 7. I don't think they have that on this page, but you see it all the time. C sus usually means a sus 4, could mean a sus 2. C7 with a sus, you can add the 7 down there. With a 9, B flat over C is a good way to write it, or just C 11th. In fact, there's so many ways to write sus chords. They're all kind of the same too, aren't they? You got C, this. B flat major 7th over C. I mean, and if you're just reading a chart really quickly and you see C9 sus, you could just play a sus chord and add the 9, I suppose. Or C13, add the 6th in there. But they'd be better just to write C7 sus, or C11, and you decide what sounds best. C7 sus 4 3. That's just a sus chord that resolves, which they often do. All right. So that's what that means. You're going to change a chord tone. C major 7 with a flat 5. All right, that's a legitimate chord there, and it's an odd sounding chord. They use that in major 7 with a flat 5. Often resolves. A sharp 5, a major 7 chord with a sharp 5. Many times like that chord would be used as some kind of a D chord or something. But it's nice when you use that chord. It usually kind of resolves like that. That's a real nice chord to use just in place of a major chord in a 2-5-1. Yeah, and sometimes you'll see it as A over F. It says A major over F. And it's kind of one of those Barry Harris things too. That kind of thing. That being the plus 5. I'll do it in C. So that's usually how it's used. It's kind of a colorful chord. C major 7th plus 11. Okay, that's kind of like the C major with the flat 5, and I think either way of writing it is good. I don't think it makes much difference how you write it. The only difference is this one's got a 5 in there, but if you left it out, does it make any difference? No. All right, C major 9 plus the 11 adds a little color. 13, nice. And many times it's played just really closed like this. You could come up with some kind of weird ways of doing it, like that. C7 flat 5, very interesting chord, because if you invert it, you get the same thing a tritone away, an F sharp 7 flat 5. So it could be thought of as either chord, and this is like the jazz chord from the 1920s, you know. Just so many songs. Right, it's an F7, there's the third, and the 5 is flatted, and then it usually moves in this direction. So that's C7 with a flat 5. Where am I? All right, C9 with a flat 5. You know, that's just a waste of space there. Just make it C7 flat 5. I'll decide if it needs a 9 or not. All right. It doesn't add enough to the chord to make it worthwhile writing, in my opinion. Just, you know, just eliminate that chord. The same thing here with the sharp 5, C7 sharp 5, often written as C plus 7, right? C plus for the augmented thing there. All right, better way of writing it, C7 altered. Just put whatever you want in there. Same with the next one, C9. That one's kind of valid because, you know, if you think altered, it wouldn't have a 9, it would have a flat 9 or a sharp 9. So, I don't know. I don't want to see that chord on a chart. C7 flat 9, yeah, that's great. You see it all the time. In fact, a lot of times just C7 if it's a jazz tune. You know, just think C7 with a flat 9, and of course, much better ways of playing it. And a lot of times it'll have a 13 in it too. So you could do something like... that 13 in there. Now if you put a flat 13 in there, then you just have an altered chord, and you could write C7 altered or C plus 7 or any of those other ones. But C7 flat 9, and you know, you can add a lot to that chord. You can add a sharp 11, you can add the flat 13, the regular 13. You know, can't add a regular 9. That would be a no-no. Unless that's the sound you want. Hey, I'm sure Jacob Collier has done it. All right, C7 with a sharp 9. All right, they show it. Typically, you might leave the 5 out. Just have it like that. It's a little more open sounding. All right, and you can put the 5 up on top if you want to. It's an altered dominant, so you could add a flat 13. You could add a lot of stuff to it, really. But if it just says C7 sharp 9, that's kind of the best way to go on the fly. C7 flat 9, sharp flat 9, flat 5. Yeah, I hate that. I hate that. But one way of getting it is to think of an F sharp over C7, because that gives it to you real quick. All right, just learn to think a tritone away from C7, play that triad, you'll get the chord. Sharp 9, sharp 5, okay, that's an altered dominant also. And if you just think of a C sharp minor chord over C7, you will get that chord. Flat 9, sorry, be this chord here, sharp 9. So, you know, you can do it like that also. With the flat 9 now, you can, and the sharp 5, you can think of a C sharp minor triad. It's just a half step up from C minor, and got the major third down here to make it a dominant chord. So, all right, those are pretty useful chords. C7 sharp 11, I like that. Just think D over C, because though that's the next chord with the 9 in there. Once again, you know, the 9 is like added if you want to. And then, you know, the 13 is up here too. So do they have that chord anywhere? Yeah, it's down the row there a little bit. All right, C7, sharp 11, flat 9. And I put the 13 in as well. Well, isn't that exactly the same as that last one we had up there? Yeah, I don't know what the difference is. C7, sharp 9, sharp 11. Yeah, almost all these chords, if it's got two altered tensions, like a flat 9 and a sharp 9, or a flat 9 and a sharp 11, or a flat 9 and a flat 13, or a sharp 9 or a flat 13, just write C7, ALT, altered, all right? Or put one of those tensions in, you know, put a flat 13 or something, or a sharp 9, or a flat 9, and just let the piano player deal with it, because if you throw those crazy chord symbols at them, you know, there's not, even really good jazz piano players, there's not too many of them that are going to read that chord symbol fast enough and get the, you know, if you want a particular voicing, just write it out, you know, write the notes out on manuscript paper and say play this. It's much easier than interpreting this particular line of chord symbols. All right, C13 with the flat 9. That one's okay. You know, it's just such a typical chord. I think you'd go with that one. C13, sharp 11. It's kind of the same chord, just a little richer. C sus with the flat 9. Yeah, that's a real chord there. It's one way of doing it. Typically resolves with a 13. Yeah, I think I would hate to see that chord. C7 flat 9 is good enough for me. I don't need the 13 in there. Okay, slash chords. C with an E in the bass. Okay, that's pretty good. You do it that way. You add the third like that, or the ninth. A couple ways of doing it. C with G in the bass. Yep. All right. E. And we already had this chord up there someplace. It was like C major 7th with a sharp 5, but some people are going to write it like this. And, you know, that's almost an easier way of coming up with it, isn't it? Yeah, you can see what it is really quickly. B flat over C, you know, that's the suspended chord, the 11th chord, the G minor over C, B flat over C, B flat major over C. I like to see it like this, B flat over C, or C11, or C sus. That's all I want to see. C over E. I already added the 9 in there before. Okay. C9, omit 3. You know, that's one of those ones, I think you can write C5 for that. C2, 5. I don't know. It's not really a chord, is it? I don't know. C7, omit 3. Yeah, you know, if it was on a rock song or something, you know, you don't want the third in on that first chord. C minor 7, omit 5. I can't think where that would ever be useful. Okay, what the hell is this? C sharp. Oh, they just kind of go into some different keys down here. Well, screw all these. I don't have time for this, do I? F sharp 7 sus, add 3. Yeah, I don't ever want to see that chord symbol. I really don't. But just give me a sus like that. And if you want me to put the third in, I don't know. I think it'd be better to write F sharp 7, add 4. I think that would be a little clearer. You know, there's your F7, add the 4. I don't know. Or add the 11. I don't know. Got me on that one. B flat, add the flat 13 and the 9. That's not a real chord. You might think it's a real chord because it's in this book, but that chord doesn't really have a name. You could give it that name, but that chord could function as other things. All these chords here, if you want your piano player to play these chords, you better write them out. Piano players can read music generally. Yeah. Oh, here's a completely ridiculous one. A plus with a sharp 9 and a flat 9. All that is an A altered. All right, you can play it like this, you play it like that. You can come up with all kinds of ways of doing it. If I just saw A altered, I'd come up with something like this. All right, now how close am I to that chord? I've got everything but the B flat in there. All right, so A altered is going to do the job. G sharp minor 7, add 11, omit the 5. I guess that's going to be that. Hey, G sharp minor 11th works for me. It's a G sharp minor, you got the 11th in there. And if you put the 5 in, it's not going to make that much difference. Like I say, I think I've said it 15 times now. If you want that particular chord, just write it out, because the piano player will sit there for 5 minutes deciphering what the fuck that chord symbol is. F over F sharp, yeah, that's great, that's fine. E over G, E plus over G. That's a new one on me. G sus over A. No, that's not a real chord. G major 7, sharp 5 over F. I mean, we already had, G major 7. F sharp Phrygian would give me this, and this is pretty close to it. I don't know. I'll say it again. Just write out the notes. F, E flat major, E flat major 7. All right, no. That's not right. This is an F. This is an F7 sharp 11. That's all that is. All right. So no chord there. B major 7 sus over F sharp. It's a pretty chord. F sharp sus would be fine for this. And then make that like the melody note. Write the note A sharp, and just put that on the line, and then write the chord symbol F sharp sus underneath of it, and then you play that note on top, and that'll give you the chord much quicker than deciphering that ridiculous chord symbol. Okay, so I've had a little fun with these chord symbols today. I think you just have to really understand harmony and how it's being used at the moment, and try to find the simplest way. Use the old expression, keep it simple. That's my advice. And if you suffered through this entire video, then you're spending way too much time on YouTube. All right, everyone. Thank you so much. I'll see you again. I'm worn out. This page wore me out.